against those who try to give legitimacy to Hamas. We'll fight for Israel. We'll fight for every Jew. We'll fight against anti-Semitism. We'll fight for the values and against corruption of those values which are in the center of our Jewish identity and American identity. And now look at those tens of thousands of students who came from Harvard and Yale and New York University and Penn and other places. You're not frightened, you're not silenced. Together we'll win because we are one Jewish family. We defeated Soviet Union, we'll defeat our enemies today. And now I want to introduce two of these younger voices of modern fighting family, Michal Biton and Isreal Zadeh. Please.
44 years ago, my family and tens of thousands of Iranian Jews were forced to flee from the country they had called home for generations. In a moment's notice, their world turned upside down. Jewish leaders were falsely accused of espionage and executed in public squares. Jewish schools were targeted and closed. And Jewish families were forced to forfeit their homes and their businesses. 44 years ago, the Islamic Republic waged its war of terror and intimidation against the Iranian Jewish community. On October 7th, they waged that war against the international Jewish community. In the wake of the revolution, my family made the choiceless choice to leave behind everything they knew in pursuit of everything they dreamt could be. Their sacrifice demands so much more of us. Thanks to this great nation, we don't have to resort to flight. We can fight with our voices, our votes, and our feet. And we will, because we know that the future of our country and the future of our people are inextricably intertwined. God bless America, and Am Yisrael Chai.
My name is Michal Biton. I stand here as a Latina immigrant and proud American to represent all those who know oppression. I represent my Argentinian community, still haunted by the AMIA bomb that tore us apart, that killed my best friend's father. Its terrorists never brought to justice. I represent my parents-in-law, Egyptian Jews, who fled Nasser's persecution in Egypt as stateless refugees and built new lives here. I represent my Brooklyn neighbors, Syrian Jews who were held as virtual prisoners in Aleppo and in Damascus, stuck for decades behind an iron curtain of hate. I stand here for all of us who remember that in every generation they stand up against us to destroy us. And for all of us who thank God that America and Israel changed the world and became our safe havens. We stand here united, proud, as Americans who are going to fight back against terror, who will fight back against anti-Semitism everywhere, in our streets and in our universities. We stand here in support of Israelis whose fathers and mothers and brothers and sisters and sons and daughters and friends were murdered or taken captive. We stand here in support of our Israeli nation who has stood up like a nation of lions. Nation of lions. Liberate Israeli and Palestinian children from the nightmare of Hamas. We stand here in the capital of this extraordinary country that has blessed us with freedom our ancestors could never have dreamed of. Here in this promised land that requires each and every one of us to pursue and expand freedom with all of our might. I stand here as a Jewish woman bearing 4,000 years of history from Abraham to my 4-year-old daughter. Proud of our people who will never ever give up hope. Proud of our people who will always seek to partner with others to heal our fractured world. I stand here as an immigrant to this country that I love and call my own, ready to join with anybody who has tasted the opposite of freedom and breathe new life into our great American dream. This is our calling. Our time is now. Our work is urgent. So let us fight with everything we have, with our voices, with our feet, with our votes, with our prayers. Let us fight together against hatred and for life. May the one above bless us with the courage and the strength to write a new chapter of peace and freedom in this nation, in Israel, and around the entire world.
Please welcome.
In the state of Israel's darkest moment, you stood up and declared, Hineni, I am here. We are here. There's no greater and more just cause than this. Today, we come together as a family, one big mishpacha, to march for Israel. To march for the babies, the boys and girls, women and men viciously held hostage by Hamas. To march for the right of every Jew to live proudly and safely in America, in Israel, and all around the world. Above all, we come together to march for good over evil, for human morality over bloodthirst. We march for light over darkness. 80 years ago, Jews came out of Auschwitz and vowed never again. As the blue and white flag was hoisted over our ancient homeland, we vowed never again. 40 days ago, a terrorist army invaded the sovereign state of Israel and butchered hundreds upon hundreds of Israelis in the largest massacre since the Holocaust. Let us cry out together, never again, never again, never again is now. The Hamas savagery and crimes against humanity bring to my mind, as President Biden has said, the worst rampages of ISIS. We, the people of Israel, are grateful to President Biden, his administration, and so many members of Congress on both sides of the aisle. The moral clarity and bold actions of our American allies demonstrate the depth of the U.S.-Israel alliance, which is stronger than ever before. Since October 7th, Israeli society and the Jewish people have truly come together in unison. We feel our hearts beat as one. We hear our brothers and sisters' blood crying out to us from the ground, Kol dmei achicha tzoakim elai min ha'adama. Once again in Jewish history, we demand, let our people go. Whilst our loved ones are held captive in Gaza and our soldiers are fighting for our beloved Israel, Jews all over the world are assaulted for being Jewish. The hatred, the lies, the brutality, the disgraceful outbursts of ancient anti-Semitism are an embarrassment to all civilized people and nations. Jews in America must be safe. Jews all over the world must be safe. I salute you, the women and men who stand up to massive hatred and pressure in the community or on campus. Just as you stand with us, we stand with you.
We stand with Israel. We stand. We stand. We stand. We stand. We stand. Now, my friends, there are no words for the horror that happened 1 month ago in Israel. The most Jews killed in a single day since the Holocaust. It brings back much darker days. And let us not forget history. History shows that when the world ignored anti-Semitism in the last century, it led to the worst catastrophe in human history: 6 million Jews murdered in the Holocaust. Let us not forget history. History shows that Israel was almost destroyed in 1967 and in 1973. We must not let that happen again.
The Palestinians are really that open to transgender and gender fluidity? I don't think so. Now, do they care about the Ukrainians? They're all about a means to the end, be that money or fundamental transformation of the world. The objective is end everything the West stands for. Everything is a means to an end, despite the lives lost. They don't care, in my opinion. You can disagree with me, and I'd love to hear your argument. People are not individuals. It's the collective. They are instruments of change. This is why they want to send our sons and daughters off to war. But is that an adequate justification for you? Because it's not for me. But look at the top 3 justifications for war on the chalkboard. We haven't been directly attacked. That's out. Ukraine is neither an ally, nor is it part of any national interest. That's out. Israel is an ally, but they are fully capable of fighting for themselves. But those 2 wars have the ability of spreading and becoming much, much larger. Why? Because of the West's progressive dogma. They also have a dogma driving them to fight. And it's much more dangerous. And until we start recognizing this, because we just found the connection between Russia and Iran, and it's not just about destroying America, it's why and how. We're going to be blindsided if everything plays out and nobody tells you the truth. So forget the bullcrap being said by our own government experts and the media. Do you really want to know what's really fueling the flames of war in Eastern Europe and the Middle East? If you do, I'll show you when we come back. Next couple of segments are going to blow your mind. I've been talking to you about Jace Medical now for a while, and the case for the Jace case. Well, it's needed now more than ever because there are critical shortages of essential drugs right here in the United States. You wouldn't think that this kind of thing would be happening here in America. Normally it wouldn't, but these are not normal times. This is why you need to have the Jace case on hand. It's a personalized emergency medication kit that contains 5 essential antibiotics, which treat the most common and deadly bacterial infections. It's customizable with dozens of add-on medications available, so you can choose the ones that best fit you and your family's needs. They even have ivermectin as an add-on option. Jace is really simple. You just go online, you fill out a form, then you get a prescription, life-saving medications, up to a year's worth, delivered right to your door, giving you peace of mind. Please check them out, jacemedical.com. Use the promo code BECK at checkout and save, JASE medical.com. You, I think, are going to ask yourself why you've never heard any of this, why our government spends so much time worried about evil Christians here in the United States and then does nothing about what I'm about to show you. As I mentioned earlier, there's nothing new about the emergence of war. It's not even new for war to break out simultaneously in multiple parts of the world. But when war is justified by Scripture, when the Bible and or the Quran are invoked by major aggressive countries, that should be a little worrying. What's even more worrying is when the major leaders of the world refuse to acknowledge that part. And that is exactly what's happening now. It's not accurate to call Russia and Iran an axis of evil, but they are match made in hell. And they are using words like apocalypse, antichrist, and Messiah as they charge into the battle, both Christian and Muslim. If you've been watching this show for the past decade, you know who Alexander Dugin is. I've been warning about him for years. He is best known as Putin's brain or Putin's philosopher. His ideology is absolutely bat-crap bonkers. When I first warned about him, I showed how he was organizing opposition movements in countries all over the world. His plan is to spread chaos that would set the world on fire, while his home country of Russia ascended. In fact, his symbol, this symbol, it's pretty creepy. It's an old occult representation of chaos. But don't think Western experts took that part seriously. They don't. Recently, however, they have started taking seriously his geopolitical views. This is a State Department document. It was released 3 years ago, highlighting Dugin's plan for Russia. It states that Russia will, quote, divide Georgia, annex Ukraine, Finland, Serbia, Romania, Bulgaria, Greece, and gives away Azerbaijan to Iran. Why haven't I heard that before? When you hear neocons, and now most of the Democratic Party say, we've got to stop Russia now before they invade another country, this is what they're referring to. Now, I'm not saying it's going to happen, And I'm definitely not saying we need to get involved in this proxy war, but this is obviously what our government is referring to. But I'm curious, why aren't they giving us the why? Why won't they talk about this? On the very next page of this document, the State Department included 2 photos of Dugin and his followers fighting. Do you see the symbol on the man's shirt? In this entire 77-page report, that part is never explained. Why? Because for some reason, outside of our own country, where, white Christians are not involved, they refuse to link geopolitics to any kind of bad dogma. And it is the same for Iran. And I find that interesting, that Russia has chosen Iran as an ally in all of this. In fact, that State Department report was quoting from one of Dugin's books. In that book, Dugin speaks of a new Moscow-Tehran axis. Now, why would these 2 strange bedfellows suddenly wake up and decide to be close friends? Is it oil? Clearly it's not their religion. Their geopolitics. Is it similar ideology? The experts will never acknowledge that. But we now know that Ukrainian spies found Dugin's ideology so dangerous they tried to assassinate him inside of Russia. They missed and killed his daughter instead. We also now know, as per the Washington Post, that the CIA funded, equipped, and trained these guys. But the government won't speak of it. The media turns a blind eye. But Dugin is not a military officer. He is not devising strategy and ordering troops on the battlefield. It is his ideology and dogma that they are trying to assassinate. I'll get to Iran in just a few minutes, but this ideology out of Russia is what links them so closely, even intimately, with Russia. So what is the ideology? It is biblical, as in seriously biblical, revelation kind of stuff. Dugin and his allies like to talk about something called Katachon. A Russian think tank with the same name was established around the time Russia annexed Crimea and invaded eastern Ukraine in 2014. Many of the contributors, including Dugin himself, are now sanctioned by the United States government. So what is Katachon? Well, it comes from the Bible in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, and it's talking about the man of lawlessness, also known as the Antichrist. Verse 6 and 7, and this is what they say, and I quote, "And now you know what is holding him back, so that he may be revealed at the proper time, for the secret power of lawlessness is already at work. But the one who now holds it back will continue to do so till he is taken out of the way." So this is talking about someone's destiny to hold back the Antichrist during the end times. The original Greek, the one who holds it back, is called Katachon. Dugin has said that Putin actually is this person. And the Western world that is now fighting them by proxy is the Antichrist. So we do a lot of research here. And most think tanks, it is pile after pile of academic, boring papers. But this Russian think tank has entire sermons on Katachon and the Antichrist. This would be like going to the Brookings Institute and finding a Billy Graham sermon on the book of Revelation. And it doesn't stop there. There are in-depth sermons on the meaning of Gog and Magog and the, quote, landscape of the apocalypse. Woven in between all of this apocalyptic theory, at a think tank, Dugin slips articles like this in. The Third World War has never been so close. After Russia invaded Ukraine last year, Dugin wrote this piece and published it on Katachon. Victory or nothing. He said that Russia's invasion of Ukraine was crossing of the Rubicon moment, and that absolute victory or absolute defeat were the only two options. He even mentions that the Great Reset was one of the major catalysts for deciding that now was the time to begin the war. And if you're a Russian headed to the front lines and you're hearing that you are a holy warrior marching off to slay the Antichrist, that's kind of powerful. Whether Putin believes it or not doesn't matter. I want to play this. This is a Middle Eastern interview with Dugin that happened in February. Watch.
هناك تهديد في حال بدأت روسيا تخسر. في هذه الحالة يمكن أن تستخدم روسيا الأسلحة النووية، وبالتالي إذا تم السماح لروسيا بالانتصار فسيكون ذلك انتصارا للغرب وهزيمة لروسيا، لكن مع الحفاظ عليها وخلاص البشرية. فإن الغرب هو مصدر الشر المطلق ويدمر الأسرة والجنس والإنسان بطبعه من خلال الذكاء الاصطناعي. أعتقد أن المسلمين يفهمونني جيدا لأنني أعتقد أن الغرب هو دجال.
So, if Russia begins to lose, they will use nuclear weapons, according to Dugin. Why? Because we are the Antichrist, the source of absolute evil. Did you see the things he mentions? Artificial intelligence, the destruction of the family, LGBTQ. This is meant not only to reach to Russians, but also the people in the West that value these things and their new Iranian friends. It is important that you understand people like Dugin. Dugin is an anarchist. He doesn't necessarily believe in any of this stuff. He's not a Christian, and Putin surely isn't. People even called Hitler a Christian. Not true. First of all, mass genocide is not something a Christian usually does. But this is a very rare document that we have in the museum. I just purchased this a few months back. This is between the guy who ran Hitler's euthanasia program. He ordered all the mercy killings of thousands of retarded, deformed, mentally ill Germans, children. It was this guy. And he's writing to another guy who is part of the ending of Christianity. They went in and they actually tried to change the Bible and the first thing they were going to do was get rid of the Old Testament because it was too Jewish. It didn't take them long to do many of the things they wanted to do. That actually didn't happen, but they were printing Bibles that did that, but it never had made it to the church. But they did take the picture of Christ off of the altar. So he wasn't Christian. Hitler, Putin, and I think Iran, Dugin, is using the religion in the same way that the mob and Mexican cartels do. They're not true believers, but they use true believers to do their bidding. In that sense, they're the same as the global progressive West. This is not the case for Russia's ally, Iran. They are true believers, at least those at the top. Apocalypse is not their tool of propaganda. It is their strategy. And I'll share that with you next. I am really honored to be able to represent preborn. Abortion has actually gone up since the end of Roe versus Wade, mainly because they're now just sending the abortion drug directly to home. So your abortion clinic is now that young girl's bathroom in her home right down